optional subject. Okay, so before going further, so what are your expectations today? What do you want me to talk about? You look me చెప్పండి. Yeah. Anything that you want me to talk today? Any specific area or issue that you want me to address? So I will write here. Paper 2. Okay. ఇంకా ఏం లేదా? ఏదో కొన్ని కథలు చెప్తాడు వినిపోదామని వచ్చారా? Pros and cons of mathematics as an optional subject. Okay. ఇంకా అది కూడా రాస్తాను. Anyway, that I will discuss. Okay. ఇంకా scaling. Okay. Scaling. Duration of coaching generally 4 to 5 months. అది రాయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. Timings 2:30 same. Monday to Friday. ఇంకా Saturday Sunday no. Monday to how to get high school. అందుకే మ్యాథ్స్ తీసుకున్నాను. ఎట్లా డిస్కస్ చేస్తా. బుక్ లిస్ట్ డౌన్లోడ్ రెడీగా ఉంది, కాపీ డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే. టైం మేనేజ్మెంట్. ఓకే, ఐ విల్ ఫోకస్ ఆన్ దిస్. Okay, while preparation and as well as in practice, writing in the final exam. Okay, ఇంకా syllabus. Okay, పెద్ద స్టోరీ చెప్తా దాని మీద సిలబస్. నైన్టీన్ 92 నుంచి చెప్తా సిలబస్ ఎట్లా మారిందన్న. ఓకేనా? అంటే నేను అప్పుడు చూసాను ఫస్ట్ టైం, నాకు అప్పటి నుంచి తెలుసు. అండ్ మీరు ఇంకా పుట్టారో లేదు అప్పటికి? పుట్టలే కదా. అండ్ నేను 92లో నా ఇంటర్మీడియట్ అయిపోయింది. అప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ టైం ఐ హ్యావ్ సీన్ ద సిలబస్ అనమాట. వాట్ ఈజ్ యూపీఎస్సీ, వాట్స్ హ్యాపెనింగ్ ఇన్ యూపీఎస్సీ, సంథింగ్ విచ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ సీన్ ఇన్ 1992. Since then I was tracking this UPSC exam. ఇంకా ఇంకేమంటే మధ్యలో గుర్తు వస్తే చెప్పండి, రాస్తాను ఇక్కడ. ఓకే. ఓకే, so mathematics is generally something which is supposed to be highly scoring optional subject. Supposed to be highly scoring optional subject. Yes, there were certain instances or maybe certain duration of time, the time in years in fact, wherein optional as mathematics as an optional subject was not so lucrative as far as civil services was concerned. But today again, if you look at almost like 5 to 6 years from today, you go back to 5 to 6 years, all these years, yes, mathematics has become one of these so sought after optional subject because of scoring pattern is very good in mathematics as an optional subject. Okay, audible, right? Okay, ఇది కేవలం రికార్డింగ్ వాళ్ళ కోసం, ఇది ఓకే, ఆన్లైన్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళ కోసం, రైట్? This is not for you guys. So mathematics is really, it's a very highly scoring subject, provided there are certain factors which have to be taken into consideration in order to score very high in mathematics as an optional subject in civil services. Syllabus, all these things anyway I will discuss, but even before going for syllabus, there are two things which are really important. One is accuracy. One is accuracy. So let me not tell you different stories on this one. Let me directly hit at the bullseye. The point is accuracy. Accuracy in terms of two senses. One is in terms of getting a right answer. Mathematics is a kind of a binary kind of an optional subject where you get an answer or you don't get an answer. That's it. The final answer. I'm talking about the final answer. Okay. Question, different steps, you got an answer. That answer should exactly match with UPSC answer. The final answer which is provided by UPSC to the evaluators, the final answer has to match. Maybe that one or two steps, if you rearrange the terms, it should match the final answer of the UPSC evaluator. That is something what we call it as accuracy. It should be 100% accurate, 100%, no deviations in that. Okay. Now, just accuracy is not sufficient because you need to attempt most of the paper. In order to attempt most of the paper with high accuracy levels, you also need to have speed. What is this speed all about? Speed is all about why you require speed first of all. The idea is to attempt all the questions, literally the entire paper, 250 marks in paper 1, 250 marks in paper 2. That is the idea. So that if you have enough speed, you will be able to attempt. But in the process of that, there is always a possibility that you are going to sacrifice your accuracy levels. Is it or not? So that's what happens in maths. So for that, you need lots and lots of practice. One more thing, one most important thing, why you also need speed. See, UPSC definitely, suppose you have a question, okay, and you write your answer, different steps, right? Finally, you got an answer, which is the final one. Without this answer, whatever you write, most of the things are useless. Whatever you write, without having finally getting the final answer, an accurate final answer. But assuming that this is a 10-marker question. For a 10-marker, in UPSC, it's not just mathematics, in any kind of optional subject, what you are going to write here is very important. Final answer is okay, but along with that, the steps are also important. These are the steps which also carry marks in UPSC. But how many marks you will get for this one? I'll give two scenarios. Okay. One scenario which is a perfect answer where you have very good number of steps. Finally, you got 100% accurate answer. How many marks you can expect out of 10? Ideal answer, the best answer that you can provide. Okay, you have given that answer, steps are given, and also steps is nothing but procedure, the procedure of getting a final answer, and then you got the final answer. So how many marks you might get? 10 out of 10 is something which is an idealistic one, which is generally does not happen in UPSC because there is something called as a scaling factor. What is that? We'll discuss later. In paper 1, you might expect 7 marks. In paper 2, you might expect 8 marks. Sometimes 9 also you will get, but generally 9 you won't get. It is 8. Take it as 8 to be on safer side. So 70% of the marks you can expect in paper 1. 80% of the marks you can expect in paper 2, provided all your steps are perfectly correct. And what you got as a final answer is also 100% accurate answer. Okay, this is one ideal scenario. Second, your steps are correct, but your final answer is wrong. Your steps are correct, your final answer is wrong. Here you might get 4, here you might get 4 or 5. All the steps are correct. You are able to explain it properly, perfectly all right. But in the end, somewhere you did some small mistake, plus or minus 1 or 2, whatever. Okay? So small mistake you have done. So your final answer is wrong. So what you are going to lose nearly 30% of the marks for each of those questions where your procedure is correct, but your answer is wrong. Final answer is wrong. It also means that you are almost losing 30% of the marks on each of those questions, which is very, very, very huge. Are you getting my point? And without procedure, suppose instead of all these steps, you cut shorted all these steps and you got this answer. How much do you think you will get? You will get again 3 or 4 marks. You will again get 3 or 4 marks. And what did you lose here again? Another 30% of the marks you lost. Getting my point? So the idea is, it's not getting the final answer to be an accurate answer. It is all about providing proper steps, proper procedure based on which you got the final answer. That is more important rather than just getting a final answer. So what do you require for this one? In order to have that ideal answer where all the steps are properly provided, proper explanation is given, proper procedure is given, and you got 100% accurate answer. It takes hell lot of time to solve each of those questions, unless otherwise you have done enough practice to ensure that each of the question is solved within the limited time frame that you have. For example, a question has to be solved. In order to attempt the entire paper, a 10-marker question has to be solved in 7.5 minutes. And you have to provide your answer, including all these steps along with accurate answer, final answer in 7.5 minutes. Then you will be able to attempt the entire paper. That requires hell lot of practice. If you have that practice, then only you will have that speed. Along with that, your accuracy will also be parallelly improved. Or else, what happens? You would have attempted the entire paper of paper 1, 250 marks attempted. Okay, assuming that 200 attempted, suppose 200 itself is a good attempt. Okay, but you already know that you came out and then verified your answers. Every answer you got 100% accurate. So you were expecting almost in paper 1 70% of the marks, that is 140 marks. Okay, but you got only 80 or 90 marks or 100 marks. Why? Why you get only 100 marks? Why not 140 marks? But you were expecting 140 there. But still you got 100 or 95 or 90 or 80 in some cases. Because these factors. Because of these factors. These factors will always come into picture, because of which your marks will be reduced heavily. It's a big penalty that you are going to face for each of those questions, unless otherwise you give 100% accurate, not only the final answer, but also the kind of steps that you are going to provide, that also important. And it doesn't mean that you have to provide each and every minute test step. No. What steps to provide, what steps you don't require to provide is something which you learn. Okay, that comes out with practice. So for example, somewhere you used cos square theta equal to 1 minus sin square theta. You don't need to mention that I use this formula, sin square theta plus cos square theta equal to 1, which is universal known one, which is something which is basic formula for mathematics, guys. At our level, you don't need to mention that. But if you use some of the big formulae, like the integrating factor of m dx plus n dy equal to 0 is e power integral whatever, f of x dx or whatever. That is something which is a procedure based, which you have to mention here, because this is an integrating factor for this kind of a one. Are you getting that? So there are certain things which you are supposed to mention. There are certain things which you don't require to mention. and you should know them, what to mention, what not to mention, your steps, the procedure. If you are able to provide proper procedure and based on which you are getting proper answer, perfectly all right. And there are such smart guys. I will give another scenario. The smart guys are like this. As soon as you look at the question, they are able to remember the answer. They write some procedure. Finally, they give answer. The procedure might not lead to this answer. They would have done some mistakes here. Hence, this is equal to this. Again, you will end up here only. Getting my point? There are people like that. In fact, my time the things were different. There is one of my senior, of course, he became IPS officer, is a different story. He was able to remember all these steps. Assuming that somewhere he could not remember this step. You know what he used to do? He used to keep some space and write the final answer. From here he used to go back and stop it somewhere, so that from here it comes here and then. He used to remember each and every step also. Forget about final answer. Final answer is something which we also try to remember. Because in fact, based on practice also, as soon as you look at the question, you will remember the answer also. You are able to recollect the answer based on your practice again. You don't need to put additional efforts to remember all these things. But with your practice, you will be able to actually recollect this answer. At least if you see this answer, I can sense it like, something is wrong with this answer. Because for this question, this cannot be the answer. You can sense it actually. That's what advantage in maths. Okay. In some of the cases, from here you can get into whether this is the right answer or not. Also, we can verify it. There are certain instances where you can verify that. But the idea is this one. Are you getting this? How an evaluator awards marks for you guys based on the kind of answer that you are going to provide. Okay. So what we can do is, when I conduct certain tests, when I evaluate your answer scripts, I keep telling you like how to reduce your steps or how to increase your steps or what steps are important, what steps are not important. In the class itself, I keep mentioning that. So my style is that when I explain a concept, based on the concept, we solve a question. The first question, when we solve it a kind of an ideal answer that should be provided in UPSC. Okay, then you will come to know what are the steps that we can provide in UPSC. After that, we don't need to provide every time all these steps in the class. Okay, maybe for your practice you can do that. Got it? Any questions here? Understood? Speed, accuracy. Without accuracy, don't expect to get marks. You will end up somewhere here. Okay? Now you got accuracy, but again you have to provide all the steps, and all the steps it consumes a lot of time. Because of time, you will not be able to attempt the entire paper. In order to attempt entire paper, what you also require is speed. Speed, for that you need hell lot of practice. So maths requires not revisions. Maths requires practice, not revisions. Because most of the times you remember everything. Okay, just that if you remember the formula, rest of the things are okay. You can always get it. Okay, you don't need to remember the entire story. But yes, there might be certain important steps which are really important. If you don't go in this procedure, you'll get answer, but maybe after 20 steps or 30 steps. But if you go with this step properly, then you will get it in 7 to 10 steps. So it again saves your time. Time saving is also very important in each of those questions. Okay, so that's what the entire story of mathematics is. Okay, fine. Can you have this part? Right?
So will you teach from basics?
Yeah, I'll be teaching you from the basics. So the idea is, there are three things which are literally important for you guys to start mathematics. One is differentials, two is integrals, three is 2D geometry basics. 2D geometry basics are important. Okay. Again, most of the times we try to interpret each of the question geometrically. Instead of just taking the question, mathematics question, and then apply the formula, and then dhandana, then you put the steps and get the answer. Yes, okay, fine, you get the answer. But how to interpret this question geometrically? Okay, geometrical means looking at the question, geometrical understand the question, looking at the answer also geometrical understand it. Okay, that is something which is important as far as our exam is concerned, because in order to verify your answer also, if you understand it geometrically, you can easily verify your answer. Yes, the answer matches to the geometrical interpretation of my question. Okay, that's also important. And without differentials and integrals, you cannot even take one step also further. Not possible. Most of the chapters, differentials and integrals are involved. Ordinary differential equations, partial differential equations, calculus, differential calculus, integral calculus. Okay, 3D geometry also we use differentials somewhere for some of the questions. Okay, and then vector calculus, complex analysis. Some of the numerical methods also we use differential equations. Numerical methods I mentioned, not it. Okay, and then physics related topics, real analysis, yeah, physics related topics, fluid dynamics, mechanics, all those stuff now. Okay, there's so many areas where you require the differentials and integrals. So without differentials and integrals, you cannot even start mathematics. Okay, that's clear. So my idea is for this batch, what I am trying to do is I will start with 1 or 2 classes depending upon the case. So we'll go with the differentials and integrals and 2D geometry basics. Okay, what kind of differentials that we use in our civil services kind of questions, what kind of integrals, and 2D geometry, what basics are required. Basics means it's just that, suppose straight line, equation of straight line. So you can put equation of straight line in ax plus by plus c equal to 0, or y equal to mx plus c, different format, or x by a plus y by b equal to 1. So when do we use first variety or second variety or third variety? It's just a straight line. So that's the basics. Okay, and then pair of straight lines. How does if you take pair of straight lines, how does the second degree equation look like? Ax square plus 2hxy plus by square plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c equal to 0. Okay, and then if these two straight lines intersect each other, what should be the point of intersection, and then what is the angle between them, blah blah blah. Simple thing, simple formula. In another sense, we have some other concepts like circle like x minus a whole square plus y minus b whole square equal to r square, or any other format. Another way you can represent a circle: x square plus y square plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c equal to 0. అంటే నేను చెప్తా ఉంటే మీకు గుర్తొస్తూ ఉంటాయి, అలా కాదు, క్లాస్ స్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడే మీకు ఆల్రెడీ మీ మైండ్లో ఉండాలి, అది పాయింట్. ఓకే, ఇట్లాంటి బేసిక్స్. conic section, ellipse, hyperbola, parabola, basics of that. You don't need to go deeper into that, like what is pole and polar of an ellipse, not required. You don't require pole and polars. No one is going to ask you questions related to pole and polars in our civil service examination. And for your kind information, this is a topic which we don't have in our syllabus, today's syllabus. At one point of time, yes, when I was preparing for this examination, 2D geometry was there, 3D geometry was also there. But today 2D geometry is not part of your syllabus. But to understand things geometrically, for example, in ordinary differential equations, in order to understand the question itself, you need to have somewhere or the other a basic knowledge of 2D geometry. Okay? Anyway. Okay. Let us look at syllabus. So everyone knows the entire syllabus is divided into paper 1 as well as paper 2. Okay. Okay. Let me directly give it instead of talking about the stories. We have 2 sections. Each paper is divided into 2 sections. Section A, what we have is 3 chapters. One is linear algebra. Linear algebra. Linear algebra, in fact, is, if you remember your matrices, remember matrices? So, matrices is part of this linear algebra. Okay. In fact, matrices is second part of linear algebra, second half of linear algebra. There is first half. Okay. The first half deals with the vector spaces and all those stuff. And then we also deal with linear transformation. That linear transformation actually leads us to a matrix. That's where your matrices concepts come into picture. The matrices that you know is actually an offshoot of the basics of linear algebra, the vector spaces. Okay, after vector spaces comes linear transformations. When you apply the linear transformation, it becomes a matrix. So matrix is nothing but a transformation basically. It's a transformation which is a linear transformation. That's what is a matrix all about. Okay, and then what we have also is calculus. Calculus has obviously we have 2 calculus elements, which is differential calculus as well as integral calculus. Your +2 level concepts of calculus, yes, they are also useful here. Okay, the basics of calculus being your +2 level. And then we have advanced level of calculus. We have differential equations or differential calculus advanced level, integral calculus also advanced level. It's not at the basic level like what is the integration of this and that. No, you might be getting those questions as well, but more than that we have advanced level of integral calculus. Okay, and then we have geometry, which is 3-dimensional geometry. 3-dimensional geometry. So 3-dimensional geometry we have a plane which is a 3-dimensional object, and a straight line in 3 dimension, a sphere. Instead of circle in 2-dimensional geometry we have a sphere. Okay, and sphere, lot many questions come into picture. And then we have cylinders, we have cones, we have conicoids. Okay, and in conicoids we have paraboloids, hyperboloids. Okay, hyperboloids of 1 sheet, hyperboloids of 2 sheets, like that. So again, you need to have the 3-dimensional imagination of these objects. Without that, it becomes very difficult to actually get into this one. Not only that, even if you look at calculus, integral calculus, okay, in integral calculus, advanced level of integral calculus, what we have is multiple integrals. Now, any given multiple integral question, you need to understand or visualize the 3-dimensional geometry of that object. For example, this assuming to be maybe a first quadrant. So obviously you understand 3-dimensional geometry, entire space is divided into 8 octants. Okay, out of 8 octants, if it is 2-dimensional geometry, we have only 4. We call them as quadrant, first, second, third, fourth quadrant. Okay, but wherein in 3-dimensional geometry, 4 plus 4, we have 8, we call them as octants. Now this room, if you assume it to be like one of the octants, suppose that is origin, this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and that is z-axis. Suppose that is origin, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Now we are sitting in first octant where x is positive, y is positive, z also is positive, suppose. Okay, now I have a plane which is inclined to all the 3 coordinate axes. Imagine a plane which is inclined to all 3 coordinate axes. How does it look like? Imagination. You require that imagination. So I have a plane which is inclined to y-axis. Therefore, it is intersecting y-axis at some point. Inclined to x-axis. Therefore, it is intersecting x-axis at some point. Intersecting z-axis also some point. So there is a plane like this, intersecting y-axis, x-axis, z-axis also. So there are certain intercept, x-intercept, y-intercept up to that point, z-intercept up to that point. So that plane equation, you can write it as x by a plus y by b plus z by c equal to 1, where a, b, c stands for x-intercept, y-intercept and z-intercept. Imagine, what is that a? From there to there. What is b? Here. C is that one. Question would be, what is the volume included between xy plane, yz plane, zx plane and the plane x by a plus y by b plus z by c equal to 1. Are you getting that? There is a volume included here. This is xy plane, yz plane, zx plane, 3 planes intersection and another plane. So there is a volume included inside. So what is the volume of that? So we put it as a triple integral of some dx, dy, dz. So how to do that? In order to integrate it, the triple integral, you need to have that integral limits. Now how do you get those integral limits? That is completely based on the object that we are talking about. Okay. So unless you are able to imagine that, visually imagine that, just looking at the question, if you're not able to imagine that, how would you get those integral limits? It's not just triple integral dx, dy, dz gives you the answer. So some people, I said, like triple integral dx, dy, dz equal to the final answer without actually evaluating that. You won't get marks. You won't get marks there. So you need to evaluate that. Integral limits have to be perfectly correct. Only then your integration would be correct. Only then your final answer would be correct. So all these requires your three-dimensional imagination. Without that imagination, there's so many areas where, even vector calculus also, we do that multiple integrals. So wherever you have those multiple integrals, the concept of three-dimensional geometry comes into picture. Not only that, the 3D geometry comes into picture even here also in partial differential equations. So that imagination is required always. Okay? Anyway, let me come back. So in section B, we have another 3 more areas. One is ordinary differential equations. Ordinary differential equations. So ordinary differential equations deals with two-dimensional geometry objects. Okay? And then we have some physics related topics like statics and dynamics. Statics and dynamics. Okay, so we call it as physics related topics of paper 1. Similarly, we have another thing in paper 2 as well. And other one is vector calculus. Other one is vector calculus. So vector calculus, it's calculus. It's calculus. Maybe in +2 level you would have learned vector algebra. Vector algebra, remember? Vectors, and then dot product of vectors, cross product of vectors. Okay, when you do a bar dot b bar, what you get, a bar cross b bar, what you get, and then triple products, a bar, b bar, c bar. Okay, vector triple products, scalar triple products. Okay, and then how do you write equation of a line in vectorial form, equation of a plane in vectorial form. Okay, they are there in vector algebra. But what I am talking is vector calculus. So you need to have the basics of vector algebra to extend the concept of that to learn our vector calculus. So we apply differentiation of vector functions, integration of vector function, the calculus that we learned on a differential calculus and integral calculus, we apply these concepts here again. But here the functions would be vector functions. Okay, we have scalar point functions, vector point functions, which we'll learn here. Okay, on which we keep applying your calculus concepts. Got it? So 3 chapters here in section A, 3 chapters in section B. Now coming to paper 2, what we have is we call it as modern algebra. Modern algebra is also called as abstract algebra. Abstract algebra or modern algebra. So this is one specific topic which most of the engineers doesn't know, unless otherwise they have this topic as a special topic that is being taught in your college. Okay, but this is a topic which generally BSc and MSc students are very comfortable, because they learn it for, BSc people learn it for 3 years and MSc people learn it for 5 years, 3 plus 2 years. Okay, generally BSc MSc candidates are very comfortable in this one. This is mostly theoretical in nature, but as far as civil services exam is concerned, civil service exam always requires application mindset in each of those questions. So you need to apply a concept to solve a given problem. Even though this is modern algebra is completely abstract and theoretical in nature, lot of these questions, they are applied in nature. For example, there is some theory, for example maybe Silos theory, suppose. Apply Silos theorem to show that this is that. So you should know what is Silos theorem, but you need to apply that Silos theorem to show that this is that. Okay, again the application of Silos theorem. So if you look at all these things, there are applied aspects only, there are applied concepts. Okay, yes, some part of theory is also important, but not in terms of proofs of those theorems here. Here if you look at vector calculus, suppose some of you might be knowing vector calculus, you would have studied in your graduation. Maybe you would have studied Green's theorem, Gauss theorem, Stokes theorem, right? Theorems. Now theorems has proofs, right? UPSC will never ask proofs. UPSC will never ask what is prove Green's theorem, no. Prove Gauss divergence theorem, no. Prove Stokes theorem, no. You see last 40 years of question papers, you won't see a single question like that. Okay, but what UPSC will ask is, evaluate so and so some integral, double integral or triple integral, line integral using some theorem, Green's theorem or Stokes theorem or Gauss divergence theorem. Or it can say that verify Stokes theorem for the given situation, given problem. Verify generally theorem is what? Left hand side something, if this is satisfied then this becomes equal to this. Verify means you will evaluate this separately, you will evaluate this separately, you will say that both are same. That is verification of the theorem. Okay, so that kind of questions would be asked, but never ever UPSC will ask you verify Green's theorem, or sorry, prove Green's theorem or prove Gauss divergence theorem or prove Stokes theorem. No, they won't ask. Here also linear algebra, there are a lot of theory involved in the linear algebra, so much of theory is there. Rank nullity theorem, prove rank nullity theorem. No, you won't get a question. At my point of time, yes, we were getting the prove rank nullity theorem question. Prove dimensional formula. No, today's UPSC will never ever ask a proof of those theorems. It will only ask you verify rank nullity theorem. See, rank nullity theorem is rank of a matrix plus nullity of the matrix is equal to number of columns. Okay, or if it is a transformation, rank of the transformation plus nullity of the transformation equal to something, dimension of the whatever. Okay, so it's a formula kind of, A plus B equal to C kind of a formula. So you need to find A, you need to find B also, therefore it is C. That's what we have to verify. It's very simple. But thing is, you should know what is the theorem. Okay, and then you should know what are each of the elements of the theorem. And each of the elements also you should know how to get them, to get the values of them. Okay, so that's how things would be. UPSC will always ask you the applied aspects of a particular concept, but not the concept as such. Okay, they don't even ask you, most of the times they don't even ask you state Green's theorem and hence solve the problem. Adi kuda adagadu. State kuda enduku anasa oka rendu markuలు వేస్ట్ అక్కడ. ఎవడని రాస్తాడు కదా స్టేట్ అనగానే, ఎందుకు ఆ 2 మార్కులు ఇవ్వాలి, ప్రూవ్ చేస్తే కదా. ఓకే, దట్స్ ఆల్. సో యూపీఎస్సీ విల్ ఆల్వేస్ గో విత్ applied elements, applied aspects of the given question. Okay, fine. Modern algebra, though most of this is theoretical in nature, but still yes, we have some of the questions which are asked in applied in nature. Okay, next one is real analysis. Real analysis, in fact real analysis is also considered to be theoretical in nature. In fact, again, real analysis is part of BScs and MScs again. Okay, and then the problem with BScs and MScs in this case is that they learn lots and lots of theory in BSc and MSc. So many theorems. They keep on proving this theorem, that theorem, blah, blah, blah. So many theorems, they keep on proving that. Again, in UPSC, it's not about theorems, it's again problem solving. Now, if you see this analysis, 80%, literally 80% of this real analysis is nothing but paper 1 calculus only. Even if you look at the syllabus also, you can easily identify that. 80% of real analysis is your paper 1 calculus. It also means that if you complete calculus here, 80% of real analysis is already done. It's just that the 20% you have to learn in paper 2 real analysis. Getting that? And there were instances where in one of the year, a question that was asked in calculus was also asked in real analysis in paper 2. The same year I'm talking. It was a triple integral actually. Okay? But anyway, so not everyone would be so lucky that way. Okay. Next is complex analysis. CA, complex analysis. Now, if you remember your plus 2 level, there is something called as complex number. Complex number, z equal to x plus iy. Remember that? So that was just a complex number. Okay? Based on the complex number system, we have a complete concept called as complex analysis. It used to be very, very heavy when I was preparing for this examination. It was very exhaustive one. People in MSc, they learn this complex analysis for almost 2 years in some of the universities. 2 years, literally 2 years, daily one class. Okay? Literally 2 years. Okay? You know how much time we take here? 12 hours. For civil services, what is important is 12 hours, we learn that 2 years. Because what is important for civil services? Applied elements of that, not the entire theory part. Okay? Prove Cauchy-Riemann equation, not required. Using Cauchy-Riemann theorem, prove this is that. Getting that? So it's all about problem solving, not about theory. Okay? Complex analysis. Okay? And then there is one more topic called as linear programming. Linear programming. This is part of one big concept called as operations research. I don't know how many of you know about this, operations research, OR we call it. When I was doing my engineering, we had operations research. Operations research has linear programming, non-linear programming, integer programming, dynamic programming. Programming, not your computer programming. Okay? In fact, whatever we derive here, that can be converted into a computer program. Okay, that's a different story. Okay, PERT, PERT, CPM. Anyone heard about game theory? Leda? Game theory. Okay. Every interaction is a game actually. Okay, suppose you are sitting in a restaurant. Okay, you're sitting in a restaurant. Suppose a boy is sitting in a restaurant. A girl enters the restaurant. Okay, then you always calculate like whether the girl will sit in front of you or beside you or that way or this way. You can always calculate based on game theory. Illeda English cinema ఒకటి అయితే అంటే మంచి ఇంగ్లీష్ సినిమాలు సరే మీకు చిన్నది ఇంటికి వెళ్ళి చూడండి ఒకసారి. When I went to interview in 2003, my options were mathematics and psychology. రెండు చాలా different combination అది. Mathematics and psychology. So in the interview board, one person asked me like, now can you tell me one very, very reputed personality these days, in 2003 I'm talking, okay, these days, who is connected with mathematics and psychology, both your optional subjects. I'm talking 2003, okay. So that was, there is a person called as John Nash. ఈ పేరు విన్నారా? ఇన్నా, John Nash. విన్నారా? That guy. That's based on game theory again. Okay. బ్యూటిఫుల్ మైండ్ నిన్న చూసారా మూవీ ఎప్పుడన్నా? బ్యూటిఫుల్ మైండ్ విన్నారా? అది జాన్ నాష్ గురించి. దట్ గై వాజ్ జాన్ నాష్, mathematician. Okay, that guy is a mathematician. He has got some psychological problem. So mathematics, psychology. Okay, and 2002 that movie was released and it got so many Oscars. So many Oscars. I think 12 Oscars or 8 Oscars. I don't remember anyway. Okay, so obviously that was a hard question for me in interview, right? So that was just game theory. Is part of one small topic in the entire operations research. At my time, that entire operations research was part of my syllabus, but today it is just one linear programming is your syllabus. Linear programming, very small topic. Okay. Now, if you see rest of these sections, 3 here, but 4 here. But as far as paper setting is concerned, generally these two are considered as one topic only. So that we'll get 3 again. We'll get 3 again in section A as well. Okay. Let us come to section B. Section B. Section B, the first topic is partial differential equations. Partial differential equations. So OD you have ordinary differential equations. This is related to 2-dimensional geometry. We'll have only x and y here. Okay. Partial differential equations, we have more than 2 variables. Okay, we have x, y, z, dimensions increase, 4th dimension, 5th dimension, 6th dimension. Theoretically, yes, we can actually solve all those problems using partial differential equations. Okay, so those who have done ODE, generally the logical way of looking at the next topic is PD. We extend that to 3rd dimension or 4th dimension. Another important topic here. And then we have numerical methods and elements of computer programming. Elements of, not computer programming, elements of computer programming. Again, my time we used to have a language called as BASIC, BASIC. Heard about BASIC language? ఇప్పుడంతా జావా, C++, పెద్ద పెద్ద పైథాన్లకు వచ్చేసారు ఇప్పుడు. బట్ దేర్ ఈస్ వన్ బేసిక్ లాంగ్వేజ్ కాల్డ్ as BASIC, బేసిక్. దాని పేరే బేసిక్. ఓకే, ఇట్ లుక్స్ లైక్ జనరల్ ఇంగ్లీష్ ఉన్నాయి. ఓకే, ఎనీవే, సో ఇట్స్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ కంప్యూటర్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ ఓన్లీ. But one more thing is numerical methods. Numerical methods are all about iterative methods, iterations. Okay, so if you have ordinary differential equations, suppose in the ordinary differential equations, based on the whatever the coefficients that we have or whatever the structure of the question that we have, based on that we can apply certain principles and solve it and get an answer. Okay, but without actually applying all these things, all the procedures of ordinary differential equations, we can actually solve the problem using numerical methods. But you will not get an 100% accurate answer. You will always get a error in the final answer. Okay, అంటే లాస్ట్లో సపోజ్ సాల్వ్ చేసి x = 1, y = 2, z = 3 అనుకోండి సపోజ్. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ సాల్వ్ చేస్తే x = 1, y = 2, z = 3 వస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ సాల్వ్ చేస్తే x = 1, y = 2, z = 3 రాకూడదు. మీకు వచ్చిందంటే తప్పది. 1.00001, 1.999999 ఆ ఎర్రర్ కనపడాలా. ఎర్రర్ కనబడితేనే మీకు వచ్చింది రైట్ ఆన్సర్. బికాస్ దే ఆర్ న్యూమరికల్ మెథడ్స్. యు ఆర్ నాట్ సపోజ్ టు గెట్ 100% accurate answers. There is always an error involved in that one. Unless otherwise you go with infinite iterations, you should not be getting 100% accurate answer. Okay, that's how it is. And elements of computer programming is all about simple bits, bytes, okay, and then Boolean logic, basics of that, and flowcharts, okay, and then algorithms, flowcharts and algorithms for all these numerical methods mentioned in the syllabus. Okay, for all of them, whatever mentioned in the syllabus, for all those numerical methods, you should know flowcharts as well as algorithms as well. I think most of these days no one is writing flowchart. Flowcharts people might be writing algorithms. I don't know how many of you are writing algorithms. Okay, of course, if you look at machine learning and artificial intelligence, you'll see a lot of algorithms. Anyway, one last topic here is another physics related topics. It is mechanics and hydrodynamics. Hydrodynamics. Again, my time we used to have hydrostatics also, statics, dynamics and hydrostatics. Now today hydrostatics is not part of your syllabus. I'm telling you, your syllabus is the best streamlined syllabus. My syllabus was not like this, not such simple one. My syllabus, if you see here, we used to have another plenty of topics. We used to have probability, statistics and blah blah blah, whatnot. Everything in mathematics was there in paper 2 and paper 2, paper 1 and paper 2 combined. Okay, but the question paper pattern was different. That's a different story. So again, 3 topics here. Got it? Again, 3 topics. Okay, just give me a second. I'll take some water. Okay, any questions here? Yeah.
Numerical methods actually calculate is.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Calculator. It's a scientific calculator you can always use. Okay. So numerical methods, a lot of calculations might be there depending on the question. So you are always allowed a calculator called as a scientific calculator. But even in scientific calculators, we have different levels. So what is allowed inside your examination hall is non-programmable scientific calculator. Non-programmable scientific calculator. Okay. What again is this non-programmable scientific calculator? It's very simple. Suppose you open the calculator, switch on. Okay. These days we have certain advanced level of calculators wherein you give some formula f of x, give some formula f of x. Okay, maybe suppose x square plus 1 by tan inverse root of 1 minus x square, just giving. So you give that to the calculator. Okay, now give value of x, it calculates f of x and gives you the output, right? Clear? That's okay, till there it's okay. Now you can actually save that formula temporarily in your calculator. Okay, now you switch off, again switch on. If that formula remains in your calculator, it is considered to be programmable, which is not allowed inside. If that formula doesn't appear here, it's erased, then this calculator is allowed. Reason you know it already. All the formulas you feed it and take it inside your examination, it doesn't work. Logically correct, right? That's that kind of calculator is allowed. Okay. Generally, we use FX 999 series. That's a high-end version of this non-programmable scientific calculators. Don't take a calculator which is altogether new variety of calculator inside your examination hall, because the examiner, the invigilator, he doesn't know what is this calculator. If he doesn't know what is this calculator, again you have to argue with that guy. Unnecessarily you are wasting your time in the examination hall, which disturbs your mind and the mood and everything, which entirely spoils your exam. Not only exam, your attempt, your life, so many things are involved, just for sake of one calculator. So why don't you take a proper calculator inside? It's just a matter of 500 rupees or 1000 rupees, whatever. Okay? Clear on this one? Any more questions on syllabus? Clear? Entire syllabus?
For this advanced topics, we teach basics.
Which one? All starts with basics on that. For example, complex analysis, suppose. Okay? While dealing with complex analysis, I will go back to your +2 level and discuss about what is complex number, concepts that we would have learned in our +2 level, complex numbers. I'll just give you a brief about half an hour to 45 minutes and then start what is complex analysis. Got it? Everything, every concept, because with rightly starting complex analysis, no one will understand it. No one will understand, I'm telling you. A complex analysis actually it is highly conceptual in nature. But if you understand the simple concept of complex analysis, it becomes very simple analysis. It's no more complex in nature. Though complex number is there, I is there, but it becomes a simple analysis. Okay, and that's what my expertise is. Okay, because people who learned it for 2 years but could not understand, they will be able to understand everything of that in 12 hours. That's good enough. My task is done. Okay, and you will be able to answer every question of civil services. Okay, now let us come to the way UPSC sets a question paper. How a question paper is set here. That is also important for us. It's not just keep on reading everything, right? You should know what is that UPSC is expecting from you, how a question is framed here. Let me look into that. Okay. I will just, in order for you guys to understand very well, I will just keep telling you what happened earlier, what was the kind of evolution that happened in civil services mathematics mains exam, okay, how a paper started setting and changes happened, slowly the evolution has come, where are we today, what should be our strategy of preparation now. All together I will complete here itself, okay, instead of telling you separately all the things, all together I will let you know. Fine. So when I started my preparation, 92, when I completed my inter, I have seen what kind of results were coming. I don't know how many of you know this. 92, my father told me like, Srikanth, you have to become IAS. Okay, when I completed my inter. Because he prepared for Group 1 examination, he went to interview 3 times, he could not make it. Therefore, one of his sons, he wanted him to become IAS officer. I was the youngest one, so he likes me most, therefore he wanted me to become IAS. Now what happens? I said, what is this IAS? I don't know anything about this one, you throw some light on this one. So what he done was, he is a lecturer in one of the degree colleges. So in the library, you will have a lot of competitive magazines, right? So there used to be one magazine at that point of time called as CSR, Competition Success Review. And meeku teliyakapochu adi. Okay, mee father ni adigini telustu valaki. Okay, CSR, Competition Success Review. What they have done was, every magazine, they will interview some 3 or 4 civil services rankers, toppers. They'll give their photo, their rank, their marks, their graduation, okay, and then their optional subjects, everything. So he has given me some 4 or 5 such books. So entire day I was analyzing that, and finally evening when my father came back, I told him, Nana, I have figured it out. If I have to become IAS officer, just look at this numbers. That was in 1992. In top 20, 18 were engineers. 18 engineers in top 20. 1 from MBBS, 1 from humanities. All India ranker 2 was Muhammad Iqbal. Okay, I have read his interview. I like that interview actually. So, you know what were his marks? His options were mathematics and physics. Mathematics and physics. That entire decade was of mathematics only. Mathematics, all physics, chemistry, botany, zoology and engineering. The 3 engineerings. Okay. So, his marks were mathematics 540 out of 600. 540 out of 600. Okay. Physics were some 520 like that or something like that. Then there was no essay. Essay paper was not there in 1992. Okay, for your kind information, essay paper was not there in 1992. Essay paper was introduced in 1993 because of these guys only. Okay. Anyway, now what happened? One of that interview, he was asked like, you got 540 out of 600. What happened to that 60 marks? Obviously, right? What happened to that 60 marks? Then he explained the concept of something called as scaling. Then he explained the concept called as scaling. What is this scaling? So he said like, I have written entire paper, both the papers, paper 1, paper 2. I should be getting 100 out of 100, no doubt, 600. At that point of time, it's not 250 paper, it was 300. 300 plus 300, okay? Now, what went wrong? Why did you not get that 60 marks? Because there is a concept of scaling. That's because of that scaling. 10% of everyone marks would be reduced. 10%. Okay? It also means that all these maths guys, their marks would be multiplied with 0.9. That is also called as scaling factor. Sometimes we also call as a normalization. Normalization of scaling is same. First time I heard about it, in 92 itself I know there's something called as scaling. Okay, so every optional is multiplied with some kind of a scaling factor, which ensures that all the options are at the same level playing field. For example, if you look at that specific year, mathematics is somewhere here, average of mathematics, average of public administration here. Okay, so in order to bring both the optional subjects into same level, mathematics would be that year multiplied with 0.9. So it comes here. These people might be multiplied with 1.1 or 1.08, something like that, so that it comes here. Are you getting that? So like this, every optional subject will have something called as a normalization factor that can be above 1 or below 1 depending upon the average of that optional subject that year. That year only. It will change next year again. It keeps on changing every year. That would be calculated by UPSC. UPSC has a separate team for this. Okay? So they are the people who talk about this scaling factor. Again, whatever I am talking here is based on whatever some people talked about it. I did not see all these things in UPSC. Okay? I don't know. Okay? They're all based on certain assumptions. Okay? Anyway, now what happened is at that time, so 18 were engineers out of 20. So I asked my father, Nana Mari, IAS avvali ante oke okkadari engineer avvalante. Mari emundi inka? Because my father is a commerce lecturer, so he wanted me to become a CA first. He wanted me to become IAS, that's up to sure. So first he wanted me to do BCom, CA and IAS, Civil Services. Then I said that there is no CA in this entire ranking. No one is there in CA, no CAs are there. All are engineers. Then he told me, Srikanth, the only way is you become engineer first. So 1 year long-term coaching, MSET, cracked MSET and got into engineering in 93. 93, 97, I had to complete my engineering. Got it? After 97, things have changed. That's a different story. 98 onwards. So now I am trying to tell you, what I am trying to tell you is, if you look at the syllabus at 92 till 1998, the syllabus is very, very huge one. I said that. Along with 3D, we used to have 2D also. Calculus was exhaustive. Linear algebra was so exhaustive. So many additional theorems, so many concepts were there. ODE, statics, dynamics, of ODE was smaller one at that time. Okay? Statics, dynamics, vector calculus, probability, and then statistics, so many were there. It's a huge syllabus. Here also so huge syllabus. But the best part, why people were able to crack in that decade was, entire paper 1, total number of questions they were asking were 15. 15 questions they will ask, of which you select any 5 questions. Any 5 questions. Each question into 60, 300. Any 5. Okay? There is no internal choice, there is no section A, section B, nothing was there. Now, look at this one, look at this one. What we used to do at that time. ODE, we used to get 2 questions. Vector calculus, we used to get 2 questions. Linear algebra, we used to get 3 questions. Calculus, we used to get 2 questions. Like this, some other syllabus. Now you tell me what I will do. More 99% of entire India who have taken mathematics as optional subject, they will read this, they will read this. That's it. Nothing. You don't require anything. Just not even 50% of syllabus. Imagine, not even 50% of the syllabus. Just read linear algebra, ODE, which are most easiest ones in this entire syllabus. Okay, 2 chapters, and you're able to attempt entire 5 questions, 300 out of 300. Most easiest. How much time it takes? Not much time also. It's very easy to prepare also. Got it? Look at paper 2. There were 17 questions. This syllabus is bigger and compared to the paper 1. 5 into 60, 300. Khatam. Okay? Yeah. So modern algebra 3, analysis 3, this 2, this 2, this PDE 2, numerical methods 2, like this. Okay? We used to read PDE, numerical methods, complex analysis, 6 questions, of which you are supposed to write 5 only. Done. Very easy, right? It was easy. Literally, I am telling you, it was easy. Though syllabus was so huge, why so many people were able to crack civil service examination and all of them being engineers again? Why that was possible? Just because of this reason, nothing else. There were no sections. Okay? Till 1998. Okay? Now, 98, what happened? I don't know how many of you remember that. Nuclear test. Remember nuclear test? Pokhran 2. Pokhran 2 nuclear test. Vajpayee government has come, and then Pokhran test 2. Now what is the result of that? Civil services again. The effect was civil services aspirants, and most of you people might not be knowing. You know what happened? So Pokhran test, international sanctions on us, that no one is going to support India. Therefore, India is not able to import from outside world. So India has to sustain based on whatever manufacturing or whatever resources that you mobilize within India. So one of the ways of doing that is cut down your expenses, expenditure cut down. So they were talking about right sizing government expenditure at that time. It's not downsizing. Downsizing is the wrong word. So they talk about right sizing government expenditure. In that process, they reduce number of, because civil services, what happens is, in the big pyramid, IAS is top. But there are so many people below him. Yeah, you can come here, there or here. Okay. So there are so many people below who depend on this IAS officer. So what they have done is, they started reducing the number of posts of IAS and IPS also. We used to have nearly 1,000 and 1,100 or 1,200 posts till 1997. In 98, they announced those many posts, but finally they selected only 600 students. 99 reduced to 400, 300, 240. Imagine how many posts are now. Now how many are there? More than 1,000? Or somewhere around 1,000 plus or minus every 1,000 plus or minus somewhere around. Okay. So that was the pathetic situation because one Pokhran test. So 240 posts, horrible. Okay, whatever. Now at the same time, there is another thing that happened because UPSC realized that mathematics kind of optional subject has undue advantage because everyone is getting selected because of mathematics. So they revised the syllabus. Okay, 99. The first thing that they have done, instead of 2 questions, they have given 1 question. Okay, 1 question, 2 questions. They reduce the number of questions. Now what happens? Now what happens? You require to read more number of topics now. There's so many other topics also. I did not give unnecessarily why I should put all those things. Okay. Now in order to cover that 5, now you require to read more number of chapters. Okay. People like me, since I thought like so much of time is available, I read vector calculus and statics, all those stuff also. But for me it was comfortable, but not for everyone. Okay. So now people started reading more number of topics. Now if you look at this 5 also, Okay, let me come back to our latest pattern because it takes a lot of time to complete the entire story. In 2001, 2001, the kind of pattern today that we have is based on 2001. 99, they suddenly changed the pattern in the examination hall only. We came to know that this is the pattern. Till that time, we don't know. Till that time, we don't know what is the pattern of the exam. In the examination hall, we came to know. It was a big shocker for us. It's okay. 2000, again they changed. 2001, they mentioned there are going to be changes. Okay? The change that happened in 2001 was they divide entire paper into two sections. This sectional approach was there for other optional subjects like public administration, sociology or anthropology. For all other humanities, there used to be sections at that point of time also. So 2001, mathematics also is brought into that sections approach. So section A was given, section B was given. Section A, there would be 4 questions. First question is compulsory. Second, third, fourth would be there. Again, fifth question again is a compulsory. 6, 7, 8 would be there. Okay? Again, one question, first question compulsory, second, third, fourth, fifth question compulsory, 6, 7, 8. Now again, the strategy. The compulsory question, they used to give 6 questions, you are supposed to write 5. 5 into 12 becomes 60 again. These 6 questions, they used to give 2 from linear algebra, 2 from calculus, 2 from 3-dimensional geometry. Getting that? Now what happens? Here also, 5th question is compulsory. 5 questions out of 6. This 6 also 2 plus 2 plus 2. Getting my point? Okay? Now suppose, look at this one. Let us come to here. If I read ODE, what happens? Again, second question used to be linear algebra, third question used to be calculus, fourth question used to be 3D, fifth question compulsory 2 plus 2 plus 2, ODE, sixth question, this is 7th question, this is 8th question. Exclusive questions. Okay? Now, in section B, I will choose ODE and vector calculus. And again, those 5 questions you have to attempt in such a way that first is compulsory, fifth is compulsory, and additionally at least one more question from each of the sections. You cannot attempt all 4 from here, only one question here. No. One compulsory, fifth compulsory, and then at least one question here, at least one more question from here. Fifth question you can attempt anywhere. So what I have done was, of course, most of the candidates, I will prepare ODE, vector calculus and linear algebra, only 50% of the syllabus. Now see what happens. If I read ODE, 6th question I will be able to attempt, so 160 marks. Vector calculus I will be able to attempt 160 marks. Okay, 2 12 markers here from ODE, 2 12 markers from vector calculus, plus 24. Got it? Look at here, linear algebra, 160 marker plus 2 12 markers. This is 84, 84, 84, 3 times of 84. How much? Out of 300. 240 plus 12. 252 out of. Generally, for the kind of questions, even if you attempt 252 out of 300 also is excellent. Is excellent. Okay? Because attempting 300 out of 300 is very difficult. And out of which, so you'll get 200 plus 200 nearly. In fact, in paper 2, it used to be 90%, not even 80%. It used to be 90%. Okay? So more marks you will get generally in paper 2, not in paper 1. Anyway, so that was the scenario till 2013. Now 2013, what happened? Entire system has changed. Pattern itself has changed. Okay, and then 2 options has become 1 optional, and even mathematics optional also. It so happened that they started giving questions like this. there would be 3 sub questions in each one of them. A, B, C. 2A, 2B, 2C. Earlier, 2A, 2B, 2C used to be all 3 questions from linear algebra. But now, this is from linear algebra, this is from linear algebra, this is from calculus. Looking at this one, A, B, C. This is from calculus, this is from calculus, this would be from 3D geometry. Here A, B, C. So there is internal mixing of questions or internal mixing of topics in these questions. Now what happens? Even if you want to attempt question number 2, you should be not only good at linear algebra, you should be also good at calculus. Even if you want to be good at, if you want to write third question also, there is a possibility that questions might be mixing from linear algebra as well as geometry also. Okay? Today also, the same pattern is going on. Now you cannot expect that in section A, if I read only linear algebra, I am comfortable. No. You have to complete calculus, you have to complete 3D geometry also. Same thing happens here, same thing happens here, same thing happens here. Today, it means that it's not just my strategies of old times when I was preparing for the examination, those doesn't work now. We need to have a different strategy altogether. Getting my point? What should be that strategy now? The same thing happened here also, okay? Here also. It means that most of the times you should be good at the entire syllabus, but today what's happening I will tell you. Again, today the paper is for 250 marks, not 300. Okay, fine. Suppose, again, I will read ordinary differential equations. Okay? When I read ordinary differential equations, how many marks I can attempt? How many marks I can attempt? 1. Again, here in compulsory questions also, now 5 questions should be given, you have to answer all the 5, each 10 markers, 50. Now each question is 15 marker, 5 into 5, 250, okay? Okay. Here there are 5 questions, okay? ODE, assuming that you will get 1 question from ODE. Worst scenario, there is a possibility that it might be 2 plus 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 plus 2, all combinations are possible, right? All combinations. Worst scenario, there is only 1 question, 1 10 marker, okay? So this is 10 marks, okay? Now you attempt 6th one. 6th one, generally it's a 50 marker. 50 marker, what kind of questions would be there in that 50 marker? 50 marks means the combinations would be 2 15 markers and 1 20 marker, okay? Or else 2 20 markers, 1 10 marker. This is also possibility, very rare possibility. Most of the times we get like this, okay? Next, 2 15 markers, 2 10 markers. But whatever it might be, there definitely would be 3 questions, okay? Now assuming that here in the 6th question, 1 15 marker comes from ODE, generally you will get 2 15 markers from ODE. Generally. Very rarely you will get only 1 15 marker, okay? Or at least another 10 marker of ODE would be there, okay? Now this is what I can attempt if I read only ODE. So how much for ODE? 30 plus 10, 40 marks, okay? And there is always a possibility, this is a minimum thing. Maximum thing, here you can get 2 ordinary differential equations in compulsory. This entire thing would be, another 20 would be from ODE, if you are lucky enough. So 20 plus 10, 30 plus 10, therefore this is up to 40 to 70 marks. let us put it as 61. 40 to 60 marks. So minimum guaranteed is 40 marks. The maximum it can be 60 or sometimes it can be 70 also. Okay. So if you read any of the chapters, every chapter is like that. Okay. If you read any of the chapter, the minimum that you can always expect is 40. Okay. Now, I will read this one. I will read this one. I will read this one. How much of the syllabus? 50% of the syllabus. 3 into 40. So 120 marks to 180 marks. I will be in a position to attempt by just reading 50% of the syllabus. Got it? 50% of the syllabus. Now, that is not sufficient for us. So we need to attempt more. Now, I will read calculus also here. The reason being that 80% of reanalysis is again our calculus, because if I read calculus, here also this topic becomes easy for us in paper 2. Therefore, I will read calculus also. So, what happens? Plus 40 here, plus 60. Got it? So, fourth chapter, 2 here, 2 here. Now, by this time, how much it would be? 160 to how much? 240 marks. We are almost approaching 250 here, if you see that. We are almost approaching 250. And again, attempting 240 marks out of 250 itself will take hell lot of exercise. So much of practice is required. I think I was discussing the beginning itself, right? You need to have lots and lots of practice so that the two parameters, accuracy and speed, in order to maintain that accuracy and speed, you need to have hell lot of practice. Practice is mandatory here. Without practice, you cannot even attempt these things. This is okay, but this is something which you cannot attempt. Okay? Fine. Now, this is the minimum thing. This is the maximum thing for 4 topics. Now, add one more topic. This all see. First level, 50% of the syllabus. 50% of the syllabus is minimum thing that you have to do in order to write this exam. If you don't do 50% of the syllabus, that too strategically, not just all these 3 I will complete, useless. Okay, all these 3 I will complete is useless. Okay, just that you need to put these topics here, these topics in section B such a way that you will get this optimized figures. Assuming that 3D also I can do. Again, it adds to this one. Are you getting that? So, the idea is first level, even paper 2 also similar kind of an approach. First level, you have to ensure that 50% of paper 1 is complete, 50% of paper 2 also is complete. That gives you the minimum marks that you are supposed to get in this exam. And remember, let me tell you, any question that you attempt in the final examination has to be 100% procedure wise accurate, answer wise accurate, final answer wise accurate. Without which, you are reading 50% only, na? You are attempting only these many questions. Utilizing 180 minutes. You are attempting only 160 marks or 240 marks. Are you getting that? Assuming that you are attempting only these many marks out of how many minutes? 3 hours, 180 minutes. Okay, so utilize this maximum extent possible time of 180 minutes to attempt these questions somewhere in between. Look at it as average of 200 marks, suppose. 200 marks also is a good number. 200 marks also is a good number to attempt. Generally, in paper 1, people attempt somewhere around 220, the best to 240. Here, people will attempt 180 to 220. Attempting 250 in paper 2, mostly ruled out. Okay? That depends upon a certain kind of aptitudes. Suppose someone is extremely strong at these 2 areas. See, what happens in modern algebra is, if you know the answer, you know it. Steps are very much minimal. Because you don't need to calculate anything there. There's nothing much to calculate in modern algebra. You keep on writing, stop, answer what? That's it. Okay, it doesn't take much time. Instead of 7.5 minutes, you can complete this in 4 to 5 minutes only. So every question you are saying 1 or 2 minutes time, additional time, right? That can be utilized to answer some other questions. So there is always, if you are strong at this one, if you are not strong at this one, these are those questions where you will take hell lot of time to complete your answer. So instead of 7.5 minutes, it will take 9 to 10 minutes in this case. So you will not be able to attempt the entire paper. But if you are good at these things, you will be able to attempt the entire paper. That's the difference. Okay? Yeah. Questions? ఏం లేవా? ఇంకేం లేకపోతే ఇంకేందుకు వెళ్ళిపోదామా? క్వశ్చన్స్ కవర్ అయినాయా? ఇక ప్రోస్ కాన్స్ అంటే ఏమంటే లెట్ మీ టాక్ అబౌట్ మ్యాథమెటిక్స్ ప్రోస్ అండ్ కాన్స్. ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ ముందు ఇది కంప్లీట్ చేద్దాం. యా ప్లీజ్. అచ్చా అయితే నువ్వే ఆన్సర్ చేసి ఇంకేందుకు ఆ క్వశ్చన్ ఏదైనా అన్నాడు నేను చెప్తా. 2:30 to 4:35 అంతేనా? ఎక్స్టెండ్ చేద్దామంటే చేద్దాం, ఏం కాదు. నేను ఇచ్చిన చేస్తే చాలు. సి ఓకే, ఐ విల్ కమ్ టు దట్. ఇక్కడ డౌట్స్ లేకపోతే ఐ విల్ స్టార్ట్ అడ్రస్సింగ్ దోస్ థింగ్స్ వన్ ఆఫ్టర్ ద అదర్. ఇక్కడ డౌట్స్ అడగండి. ప్రింట్అవుట్ ఇవ్వండి, డిక్టేటే చేస్తాం. మనం ఇక్కడ సాల్వ్ చేస్తాము, డిక్టేట్లు కాదు. విల్ సాల్వ్ ద క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇన్ ద క్లాస్. వీ హ్యావ్ టు సాల్వ్ ఇట్. నేను చేసే బోర్డు మీద చేస్తా, మీరు చేసే మీ నోట్స్లో చేస్తారు. హోంవర్క్ ఇచ్చిన ఇంట్లో చేస్తారు. అంతే కదా. ఆల్ క్వశ్చన్స్ నేనుతో చేస్తానబ్బా. నేను మీకు మోడల్ చెప్తాను. హౌ యూ హ్యావ్ టు రైట్ యువర్ ఆన్సర్ ఇన్ ద ఫైనల్ ఎగ్జామ్ కూడా చెప్తా. అదే నేను చేసేది. సి ఐ టీచ్ ఎ కాన్సెప్ట్. ఫస్ట్ స్టేజ్ ఐ టీచ్ ఎ కాన్సెప్ట్. Second stage, I will solve a question which was already asked in UPSC exam in that model, a model meda. Okay, I will solve which is a model answer for you. It's a model answer. That's how you have to present your answer in the final exam. Adi practice cheyali. You have to practice at that level. Okay. Third one, class questions, which you are going to solve in the class, which I will come to each of you and see, verify whether you are doing it properly or not. Okay? ఇక్కడ మిస్టేక్ వస్తే అక్కడే సాల్వ్ చేసేసుకుంటాం, సింప్లిఫై చేసుకుంటాం, అన్నీ ఇక్కడ అయిపోవాలి. ఎవ్రీథింగ్ హ్యాస్ టు బి రిజాల్వ్డ్ ఇన్సైడ్ ద క్లాస్ రూమ్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్, నాట్ అవుట్ సైడ్. ఓకే? ఇఫ్ సంథింగ్ ఈజ్ బియాండ్ దిస్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ యూ వెంట్ హోమ్ and you are trying to solve some questions which I have given for homework, fourth would be homework. And we will solve multiple questions in the class itself. Whatever I give you to solve in the class, if you are not able to do that, I will solve. But when I solve it again, I will not write a model answer. I will not write all the steps where you are strucking up. That I will solve. That way, every doubt that you have inside the class will close it there and then itself, that day itself, in the class itself. But anyway, I am going to give you some homework. What you can do is, here itself you complete the homework after the class. Any doubts that you have, anyway I will be sitting outside. Okay, you clarify all your doubts and go. Or else you go home, solve all of them. Next day when you come back, you ask me those questions. But every day you have to complete homework. I'll give plenty of homework. Number 2, every day PYQs are important. Now let me talk about PYQs now. Okay, that's very important. In mathematics, UPSC Civil Services. Nowhere else it happens, here it happens. In Civil Services Mathematics Optional. UPSC will never ever create a new question. First point. UPSC will never ever create on itself a new question. It will always pick up a question from a textbook, because UPSC doesn't know how to solve it. So UPSC will copy the answer also, question and answer. That Xerox copy would be provided to evaluators. Now what is the problem here? Advantage, disadvantage also. Okay, advantage. So every question is a known question now, because we know what are all the questions available in ODE, what are all the questions available in CAT. I know every question. Now we have the entire repository. Okay, UPSC cannot go beyond that repository because UPSC will not create a question. Okay, now the disadvantage. Disadvantage is UPSC has one type of an answer. You solve that question in your own way, in a different method, different way of answering. You have your own way. You used your inquisitiveness and started solving the question in a different way. UPSC don't have that answer, but you got the final answer correct. Those guys would be confused, because you know what happens. You know who are those people who evaluate your answer scripts? Any idea? UPSC doesn't have people who evaluate answer scripts. They always get people from throughout India, universities, who are professors. Professors in mathematics in different departments in universities throughout India. Now, who are they again? They are very old people at the verge of retirement, maybe 55 years or 60 years like that. Okay? Now, again, these guys, these professors has an advantage and disadvantage. The advantage is they are extremely experts in certain areas of mathematics which they have been teaching for the past few decades. A professor of linear algebra throughout his life will be teaching linear algebra only. He will not teach ordinary differential equations. He don't even remember formulas in ordinary differential equations. But still, this guy is called by UPSC to evaluate answer scripts which has got not only linear algebra, it also has got ordinary differential equations. Then how would he evaluate? Key. Key has to be provided by UPSC. If UPSC doesn't provide that key, how would he evaluate your answer? Very difficult for him to evaluate your answer. He cannot calculate all the things. He doesn't have that aptitude to calculate, because throughout his life he was teaching only linear algebra, linear algebra, linear algebra, maybe modern algebra, maybe complex analysis. But what about ordinary differential equations? What about calculus? What about linear programming? He was not evaluating that. He doesn't know. He might be having basic knowledge of that, but that's not sufficient to evaluate your answers. Na? Your innovative answer, how does he evaluate? No. This is the practical reality. Getting my point? So now what UPSC will do in this case? They always ensure that any given question, there is only one unique way of answering it. Only those kind of questions UPSC will give you. Now it's our advantage. Are you getting my point? What is the advantage? Of all those repository of questions in textbooks, any reference books, for example, M.D. Rai Singhania, ordinary differential equations and partial differential equations. Plenty of hundreds and hundreds of questions will be given. Now we'll clearly know which type of questions UPSC will ask from this book. We'll identify those questions, we'll solve only those questions. Now one more thing. Assuming that, let us take the same M.D. Rai Singhania. Okay? We'll go with ordinary differential equations. Okay? In ordinary differential equations, first chapter is formation. Formation of ordinary differential equations. Okay? So there is a technique of forming an ordinary differential equation from the family of curves. Okay. Now, Rai Singhania will give you, suppose, maybe some 50 questions. Some examples, solved examples, some exercise. Okay? Examples and exercise both together, assuming it to be some 50 questions. Of which not all questions would be of UPSC level, definitely. Okay, assuming that of which only some 20 questions are of UPSC level. Just randomly I am giving, assuming that. If all 20 questions are of UPSC level, by this time UPSC would have given all these 20 questions in different years. Already got it? Now this goes to our repository. Second chapter, those questions goes to repository. So repository keeps on expanding. Now what is there in repository? All PYQs, na? All PYQs. All those questions which were already given by UPSC. Now, 21st year, 20 years, 20 questions, 21st year, what UPSC will do? It cannot create a question. It has to choose from again the same repository of 20 question will be repeated. Are you getting? 22nd year, question would be repeated. 23rd question would be repeated. 40th year, question would be repeated. Because UPSC doesn't have more questions. The repository already expired way back. Now today we have already that PYQs repository. UPSC has to give any question from that repository only.
Last year paper is also from UPSC.
100%. 100%. 99 కాదు 100. సరే అబ్బా మీకోసం 99%. అయితే ఏంటి మీరు ఎన్ని అటెంప్ట్ చేయాలి ఇక్కడ? హౌ మెనీ యూ హ్యావ్ టు అటెంప్ట్? మీరు చేయగలరా? 100% వేస్ట్ కదా. సో బీ ప్రాక్టికల్. ఓకే, బీ వెరీ వెరీ ప్రాక్టికల్ ఇన్ దిస్. Because finally what is important for us? Getting marks. In order to get marks, evaluator has to give good marks. What is the mindset of evaluator? What kind of a person he is? What is UPSC again? So you need to understand all this entire framework. Finally where you land is, you land at this repository. Get that repository. And repository again, you don't need to get that repository from the reference books. The repository is PYQs only. PYQs is nothing but our repository. Nothing else is the repository. Take last year 20 years of questions. Your repository is already there with you. Next year question paper is already there with you only. Nowhere else. You already have that next year question paper with you. And surprising ఏం లేదు ఇక్కడ. నాకైతే లేదు, మీకు ఎట్లుందో తెలియదు నాకు. There no surprise here. Mathematics is that one. It is a completely static in nature. Static subject, completely static subject. But the biggest problem is not having the repository. The biggest problem is getting mastery over this repository. Mastery over this repository is important. Now, mastering, what is the mastery over? Two things. Speed, accuracy, you have to maintain these two or else useless again. Even you have that question paper with you, see, assuming that entire question paper I have given you. Tomorrow you are going to write the exam. Entire question paper you have with you. You know how to write the answer. But you have to write the answer in the examination hall within the time frame of 180 minutes for each of the paper. Writing all the steps. Getting the final accurate answer. How do you do that? Practice. Practice but nothing else. Throughout India, everyone can answer the entire paper. I'm telling you, in mathematics, the best part of mathematics students is that 90% of those who prepared seriously with mathematics as their optional subject can complete the entire paper given enough time. Give entire one day, he will complete paper 1. Another day, he will complete paper 2. He can do that. Everyone is so knowledgeable. Everyone is so good at maths. Everyone understands all these concepts. But within the framework of 3 hours for paper 1, within the framework of 3 hours for paper 2, if you are able to complete with procedure, with 100% accurate answer, then you will win the game. That needs practice, nothing else. Understood? PYQs? Okay, PYQs is a repository. That's what I am trying to tell you here also. When I solve a model question, I will solve only PYQs. I will not solve any nonsense question. No. I can't even tolerate any other questions. If it is a previous question, then I will solve, or else I will not solve. You get me some damn question, ask me to solve, I will not solve, unless otherwise it's a previous question. What's the use of solving some damn question which is not previous question? What is any use of that? Waste of time. If you are here to learn mathematics and improvise your knowledge in mathematics, this is not the right place. But if you want to crack this examination with mathematics as an optional subject with very very practical orientation, then this is the right place. Because I have seen so many PhDs coming and attending my classes, which I said like, no, I can't. Because your thought process doesn't match to our civil services thought process. We are completely focused on those questions which are relevant to our exam. You are not here to get knowledge of maths. No, you are here to get high scores in maths. Antena? Put out a question. Got it? PYQ is done? Okay? Now.
Mostly one question is the correct purpose of
For
answering each question.
See, there are 10 markers, 12 markers, 15 markers, 20 markers. Initial days, see, again, one more thing. Don't think like day one onwards, you have to be very fast in our getting the answers. No. In accuracy and speed, initial days, when you start your preparation, at least till the time you have some concrete idea about this entire syllabus, then this is more important, not this one. Okay? Once you got complete idea, then you will formulate a strategy for yourself. First, what is the first step in your strategy? 50% of the syllabus. That 50% of the syllabus, you need to get mastery. At that point of time, when you want to get the mastery over the 50% of the syllabus, start increasing your speed. Upward speed పెంచాలి. ఇప్పటి నుంచి ఫటాఫట చేస్తాంటే accuracy పోతుంది. And accuracy లేకుండా, even if you have speed also, what is the use of it? Speed is important, I accept it. But at what time speed is important? By the time you write your examination, then speed is important. But from today onwards, what is important for you is accuracy. Go slow, nothing wrong. But maintain that accuracy levels. But later on, slowly increase your speed. But without sacrificing or victimizing your accuracy. Okay, na? Inka. Every class you'll get online, it's recorded. Okay, it's recorded, you'll get online access. You can go, put 2x speed and then look at it. Okay, generally I go slow in the class. Then even general reason, that depends on the class actually. For example, by the time we completed ordinary differential equations, the logical flow should be partial differential equations. But by solving so many ODE questions, differential equations, you people are frustrated, suppose. Got irritated, there is so many ODE questions. Let us have a different variety of topic. Then I'll shift to another topic rather than PDE. But you are okay with ODE, you are enjoying that. Then we'll continue with PDE. So that all depends upon the group action.
For every chapter there is a certain line filling.
That I will give. That's not a big thing, man. I was telling complex analysis, 12 hours. Like that for every topic I have it. Because almost more than 22 years I was teaching the same maths. Okay. Main gaadu. There are 13 topics, kada? 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. What I am going to teach is, I keep changing that because based on the time frame. I will start generally with ODE. Logically, I will go to PDE. Okay. Logically, I will go with PDE. Okay. Based on after PDE, your mood and your mindset, because by this time you would have done a lot of differentials, integrals. You are happy with that. Then I will come back to paper 1 and go with vector calculus. But your mood is not so good. So many differentials, integrals. Then instead of 3, we will go to linear algebra or geometry. So that all depends upon the mood of the student. Because mathematics is two things, the pros and cons. You can say that when you do mathematics, you are completely engrossed in that. You forget about time, you forget about others, you forget about everything except for maths, solving problem. Right? That again is another problem for UPSC. Because you need to manage your time in such a way that you also justify other areas like general studies. General studies also is important. So in order to spend some time with general studies also, you need to restrict yourself to a specific time frame for mathematics on daily basis. Suppose I will spend 4 hours on mathematics, just 4 hours, that's it, per day. 5 hours, okay, 5 hours per day. Rest of the time you spend on other areas. So you should be emotionally very strong while doing maths problems. You should be very strong. Because I have seen so many people doing maths but nothing else. Useless kada, ఏమున్నది దానివల్ల ఏమవుతుంది? What will happen if you get mastery over mathematics? Assuming that you got 350 out of 500 in mathematics. What's the use of that when you don't have even average score in GS? See, the bonus marks in mathematics will be useful only if you get minimum average score or general score in general studies. If everyone is getting 90 out of 250 in each of those papers, you should also get 90, na? If you are getting only 60 or 80, useless. You will not be cracking this exam. So you have to spend enough time with general studies as well. That weightage should be given everywhere. We have to balance that. Balance GS and mathematics. But maths people has that trouble, I'm telling you. Of course, you also know it. Kada? Inka?
There are many how can one realize he should take mathematics as optional? Who should take?
Who should take maths? Okay.
Actually, from childhood I am interested in mathematics.
That's the problem again.
I have to take maths.
Okay. So the idea is, since your childhood, you're really good at maths. But what are you now? Today? Are you really good at maths today? Have started working on maths? Started doing differentials and integrals in maths? Today, I'm talking about today, not 2 years back. Today. If not, then start doing maths now. Next 1 week, start doing differentials and integrals. 2 types of feelings would come. One, super, it's very nice. Yeah, let me do some more problems. Let me do some more problems. I'm getting that kick in maths. Then you can take maths. The other possibility also is that, మళ్ళీ చేయాలన్నారా అవి అన్నీ చేసినాం చాలా ఇప్పుడు ఇంకా చేయాలన్నా ఇప్పుడు అనిపిస్తే తీసే. That means if you, while now today, the interest of today is important, not 2 years back or 5 years back or your childhood. Okay, today what do you feel about maths? Not this one, this should speak to you. Okay, saying that yes, only with maths that I can crack this exam, no other option subject. That will happen only if start working on these areas. Open your plus 2 level books, intermediate plus 2 level books, open them and start doing differentiations, okay, and then integrals also. There are different models of integrations. Start solving at least one of those questions. Look at one example, solved example, and then you try to solve on your own another question, and then start seeing what kind of mindset that you have today. That will tell you like, yes, shall I go with maths or not? But one thing is clear, mathematics, it's not about subject. Subject everyone has. But what is important is practice. Practice. Without practice, you cannot survive with maths. You'll feel like, "Arey yaar, enduku teeskunnanu ra babu maths." Within the time frame, you have to solve the questions. No, I'm trying to scare you, I know it. I want to scare you guys before taking maths. Okay? Try it out. Or else one thing I can also do is, maybe next 2 days or maybe one or 2 days, I will start teaching you these things. Teaching you, just revising those entire plus 2 level concepts of differentials and integrals and 2D geometry, so that you start recollecting all those things and start practicing on your own. Till now I haven't done this one. Okay, I will tell you, like, I will give you 1 week time. You first work it out at home and then come back to me again. On next Monday we'll start classes. Again, the problem is that on Monday again I see everyone is at the same level. No one practiced anything. Instead, let me take a class on that, so that you guys will be doing in the class itself. so that that 1 week of time would be saved. Not only 1 week, it so happens that if you're not good at these three, when I start ordinary differential equations, generally ordinary differential equations can be completed in 8-9 classes. But since you are not good at differentials and integrals, it will take 12 to 13 classes. Getting my point? So unnecessarily, and 1 week unnecessarily wasted. Huh? So what's the point in wasting a one week's time? When I solve a question, I will solve it comfortably. But when you are solving the question, someone will put so and so step, integral, something you will write, and just look here and there what he is doing. Useless, na? You should be doing it, right? Your friend would be doing or not is a different story, but you are supposed to do in the class itself. That will happen only if you are good at these areas. Okay, na? ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకొస్తారా నేను చెప్పాలా? అయ్యో ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ లేదు. So what I will do is, I will just only deal with those concepts of differentiation and integrations or 2D geometry which are relevant for our syllabus. Not beyond that. There are certain integrals which we don't require in our syllabus. Why we should deal with them? We'll just focus on our things, why other things. Okay? So in that case, we'll meet again tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Same class. But not tomorrow, we'll start day after tomorrow. But tomorrow I need to go out. Okay, day after tomorrow, we'll meet at 2:30 p.m. Class would be on this one, not on ODE. I will start ODE only after this class. Is that okay? It might take 1 class or 2 class, I don't know. That all depends on you guys only. If you're fast, 1 class will complete that, 2nd class onwards will go to ODE. If you are slow, this will go for 2 classes, 3rd class will go with ODE. Is that okay?
For 2025 can be attended.
No, that all depends upon your GS expertise as well. It's not just about maths. No? If you are comfortable in GS, no, maths you can do. Maths is not a problem. See, I'm telling you, right? Balancing maths and GS is important. After 5 months of classes, 5 months it takes, I'm telling you. Don't assume that 3.5 months will complete. No, 5 months it takes. Okay? Again, after 5 months, again you have to revise this mathematics for the next 2 to 3 months. Revise. I will put a test series there. That test series you completed. It means that entire mathematics will be in your pocket now. Then you prepare for prelims exam. Before you exclusively prepare for prelims, you have to complete optional, main syllabus. Then it works. Class notes is more than sufficient. Materials, I have material, no doubt. Very old material that I have. Because mathematics, the biggest problem is typo mistakes. So many typo mistakes would be there. So with that typo mistakes, if I give you material, is useless. So most of the things I'll discuss in the class itself. Class notes is very, very, very exhaustive. Along with the class notes, I'll give you some homework. Homework will also contain PYQs. Some PYQs might not be there. Go home and refer to all those PYQs as well. These days PYQs are available online. Segregated one. OD is separate, PD is separate, segregated one. Okay? So get those PYQs. But every day when you go home, class notes plus homework plus PYQs on that topic plus additional time on reference book. For example, rising area. So I will cover most of the questions in the class notes itself. All models I will cover. Homework also I will give you. Some of them can be previous questions, some of them can be some other questions. 90% would be previous only. Refer to directly previous year questions. Some of them maybe that I would have missed in my class notes or homework, so that you'll be able to do also those questions. Any reference book that you want to practice, for the sake of your practice, you can do that. The reference book or reference materials, or whatever you consider that, that's up to you. This you have to do on daily basis for each and every concept that we discuss in the class.
Sir, if I have any problem from the different book, will you take that?
Tell me.
If I have any problem from the different book, will you take that?
Oh, you get me any question, anywhere.
Initially, you told not other question.
There's no point in doing that. Now, if see, any book, any question, if it is a previous question, I will solve.
Other than that,
What's the use? You're wasting your time, na? See, I have plenty of books like that, plenty of questions which are not relevant for our civil service examination. What's the use of solving them? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Preparing for civil services, you focus only on civil service exam related questions. Other questions, it's only for knowledge sake. If you want me to solve them, I will solve them outside the classroom, not here. Outside the classroom is something is your personal relationship with me. Okay, I will solve whenever time is available. But if it is civil service question, I will definitely solve. Okay? Is that okay? Understood? Yeah.
కోర్సులో ఈ టాపిక్స్ అన్ని కవర్ చేస్తారా ఓన్లీ ఇంపార్టెంట్
Yanta. Entire syllabus. Nothing will be missed in the syllabus. Every subtopic would be covered.
So any rankers from your
Butchered manantaru. Who cares rankers?
mathematics?
So these days I stopped caring about rankers. Rankers ఎట్లా అయిపోయారంటే ఈ మధ్యకాలంలో అయినా నేను చెప్పకూడదు, but since you asked me that, I'm trying to tell you. So people these days, the rankers, they come to us, they get everything, they go out, they get rank. What happens after rank? They don't even remember what happened previously. Got it? Okay. So they even tell that I didn't take coaching anywhere. I don't have any mentor. I myself prepared everything self and then I got this rank. Or you pay some money, he will come to you. You pay some X amount, not everyone. You pay some amount, he will come to you. He might be your student or not also, he will come. And there are agencies for that. The agencies tell that this ranker, he will come to your institute and talk to students, this is the amount. Next. He will announce that he has taken coaching from you, therefore this is the amount. You take photograph with him, this is the amount. So there is a rate card for each of the rankers. So don't believe on ranks or rankers, what they say. Never ever believe ranker. This I have been telling for the past more than a decade because I have seen.
So what I'm asking is the highest score getting candidate is the focus of your class.
I don't know. To be frank, I don't know. I don't even bother about it. Only when a student after getting selected, if he comes to me, I will announce. Or else I will not announce. Only if a mathematics student comes to me and say that, sir, I am your student, I got these many marks, it's all because of you, then I will take a photograph with him. That's my problem. Okay? Anything else? Don't believe the rankers. Rankers is something which, for the past 5 years especially, the kind of rankers that we are seeing, maybe had I got the kind of feel that these are the kind of rankers we are going to get in future, I would have never come to teaching. ఇప్పుడు అనిపిస్తుంది ఎందుకు వచ్చాను బాబు టీచింగ్లోకి అది. Because teaching, you always feel like it's a noble profession. I am like పాత చింతకాయ పచ్చడి అంటారు చూసారా, అంటే you always feel that is the flavor. Okay. So I'm like old kind of generation where I always believe like teacher is something, is a noble profession. But today it's not like that. టు బీ ఫ్రాంక్ విత్ యూ గైస్ టుడే నేను డబ్బులు కట్టాను నీ వరకు పాఠం చెప్పు అంతే. నీ పాఠం నేను డబ్బులు కట్టాను పాఠం చెప్పావు అయిపోయా. డబ్బులు ఇచ్చాను నువ్వు నాలెడ్జ్ ఇచ్చావు కేల్ కథం. Nowadays we can find these kind of students more often. There is nothing wrong in that. They are very practical students these days. This generation is very, very practical. I am surprised to see that practicality in the new generation. అదే మనం డైజెస్ట్ చేసుకోలేకపోతాం, మన ప్రాబ్లం అది కదా. దట్స్ ఓకే ఫైన్. ఓకే ఇవన్నీ ఎందుకు లేబ్బా స్టోరీలు కానీ కదా. ఇంకా ఎనీ క్వశ్చన్స్ అబౌట్ మ్యాథమెటిక్స్ యాజ్ అన్ ఆప్షనల్ సబ్జెక్ట్? ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ స్పెసిఫిక్ థింగ్? యా, no questions? Okay. So one thing is tomorrow I will take one session, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow I will take one session, Wednesday 2:30 p.m. regarding these topics, and then we'll start ODE concepts immediately. Okay, and all.
For doing all those things, at least 3 hours or 4 hours.
I don't know. That's what I never taught these questions.
So time is actually 240. 240 to 240 class starts. Last any good.
అదే నీ పర్సనల్గా కావాలి 240. 10 minutes లేట్గా రాయం కాదు. అచ్చా వేరే క్లాస్ ఉందా? జనరల్గా నేను 10 minutes లేట్గా వస్తా. జనరల్లీ నేను 10 minutes లేట్గానే వస్తా. అని మీరు కూడా అలవాటు పడతారులే 10 minutes కానీ. Test series and tests, unit tests. There are two things here. Unit tests are like as soon as we complete a specific topic, we'll go with a unit test. Only for those topics, unit tests. Okay. Test series is something once we complete the entire syllabus. I was telling you, like 5 months, entire syllabus is completed. After that,
So December it will be completed.
yeah. After that, we'll start test series, wherein it goes for another 2 to 3 months, depending upon that day, the last class. We'll create a schedule here, test series schedule, because you are the guys who are going to write it, right? I don't want to create my own schedule. So let us talk together and create a schedule, because I have plenty of question papers with me, plenty. Okay, more than 10 varieties of question papers for each of them. Okay, so I will give one set of question papers to you guys. Right? You come here, write the test, I will evaluate the answer scripts, I will give you the feedback also, and then based on that you improvise yourself. And that one test series is not sufficient, you have to write more tests. Practice, 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 practice in test scenario is important. Just not practice, practice in test scenario.
Until exam, test series will be conducted, sir. Only one test series will be.
2 test series every year. One after your classes, number 2 after prelims exam, before mains.
If news qualifies, then is there any?
Adi after prelims exam. No, I will not wait till prelims results are out. See, if you think like, sir, I want test series for myself, come to me. I told you so many tests are available. No, every individual I can conduct it separate tests. So many are there, na? Because initial days we created, every year we used to have 2 test series. So we used to create lot of questions then. Okay? And all of them are available, na? So you can practice them. It's all about your practice. So you want to write 5 test series? Write 5 test series, no issue. Suppose ODE you completed, sir, I want to write 1 test, right? 5 tests, right? It's okay. I have. Yeah, it's just about repository, man. It's all about repository. Once I create, it's there. It doesn't change, na? Maths, it doesn't change. But it's all about you. You have to practice. I'm telling you, tremendous practice is required. Though it looks like marks look like flowery and then very tempting. No, it's not like that. When you practice, you will come to know it. Unless you really feel that, sir, I am going to get these marks. No doubt, whatsoever it may be, I am going to get this. Do that level of practice, you will get it. But don't expect like 350s, 360 marks. 320s is something which you can always get with maths. But if you think like 260, don't take maths. What's the use, man? 260. You can as well get it from anthropology or sociology or anywhere without this much of efforts. But crossing the 280 is important. Getting 280 is not sufficient. Crossing the 280, getting that bonus marks of 20 to 40 marks, much beyond the 280 is important always. But don't dream to score 350s. No, these days UPSC very rarely is giving those many marks beyond 340s. ఏదో మిస్టేక్ చేస్తారు కదా. సి ఎక్కడైతుందమ్మా, దే ఆర్ మేకింగ్ ఇట్ వెరీ లెంగ్దీ పేపర్ నా, అండ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు బి వెరీ ఫాస్ట్. The practice of those test series is literally very important. Okay, done. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for patiently listening to all these stories. So day after tomorrow I will start that, and then we'll see. It takes 1 hour, 1 class or 2 classes, I don't know, because now I need to frame it actually, because all these years in the classroom itself, whenever the question comes, I used to discuss that. Now I need to formulate all those questions here. Concepts are okay, but it's all about questions solving, right? Practice. Okay, chalo then.